The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided to award the Nobel Peace Prize for 2019 to Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed for his efforts to achieve peace and international cooperation, and in particular for his decisive initiative to resolve the border conflict with neighboring Eritrea. The prize is also meant to recognize the stakeholders working for peace and reconciliation in Ethiopia and in the East and Northeast African regions. When Abiy Ahmed became Prime Minister in April 2018, he made it clear that he wished to resume peace talks with Eritrea. In close cooperation with Isaias Afwerki, the president of Eritrea, Abiy Ahmed quickly worked out the principles for a peace agreement to end the long no peace, no war stalemate between the two countries. These principles are set out in the declarations that Prime Minister Abiy and President Afwerki signed in Asmara and Jeddah in July and September. An important premise for the breakthrough was Abiy Ahmed's unconditional willingness to accept the arbitration ruling of an international boundary commission in 2002. Now, peace does not arise from the actions of one party alone. When Prime Minister Abiy reached out his hand, President Afwerki grasped it and helped to formalize the peace process between the two countries. The Norwegian Nobel Committee hopes the peace agreement will help to bring about positive change for the entire populations of Ethiopia and Eritrea. In Ethiopia, even if much work remains, Abiy Ahmed has initiated important reforms that give many citizens hope for a better life and a brighter future. He spent his first 100 days as Prime Minister lifting the country's state of emergency, granting amnesty to thousands of political prisoners, discontinuing media censorship, legalizing outlaw opposition groups, dismissing military and civilian leaders who were suspected of corruption, and significantly increasing the influence of women in Ethiopian political and community life. He has also pledged to strengthen democracy by holding free and fair elections. In the wake of the peace process with Eritrea, Prime Minister Abiy has engaged in other peace and reconciliation processes in East and Northeast Africa. In September 2018, he and his government contributed actively to the normalization of diplomatic relations between Eritrea and Djibouti after many years of political hostility. Additionally, Abiy Ahmed has sought to mediate between Kenya and Somalia in their protracted conflict over rights to a disputed marine area. There is now hope for a resolution to this conflict. And in Sudan, the military regime and the opposition have returned to the negotiating table. And on 17th of August, they released a joint draft of a new constitution intended to secure a peaceful transition to civil rule in the country. Prime Minister Abiy played a key role in the process that led to the agreement. Ethiopia is a country of many different languages and peoples. Lately, old ethnic rivalries have flared up. According to international observers, up to 3 million Ethiopians may be internally displaced. This is in addition to the million or so refugees and asylum seekers from neighboring countries. As Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed has sought to promote reconciliation, solidarity, and social justice. However, many challenges remain unresolved. Ethnic strife continues to escalate, and we have seen troubling examples of this in recent weeks and months. No doubt, some people will think this year's prize is being awarded too early. The Norwegian Nobel Committee believes it is now that Abiy Ahmed's efforts deserve recognition and need encouragement. The Norwegian Nobel Committee hopes that the Nobel Prize will strengthen Prime Minister Abiy in his important work for peace and reconciliation. Ethiopia is Africa's second most populous country and East Africa's largest economy. A peaceful, stable and successful Ethiopia will have many positive side effects and will help to strengthen fraternity among nations and peoples in this region. With the provisions of Alfred Nobel's will firmly in mind, the Norwegian Nobel Committee sees Abiy Ahmed as the person who, in the preceding year, has done the most to deserve the Nobel Peace Prize for 2019. Thank you very much for your attention.
Well, for more, let's cross over to Erago Tesfalam from DW's Aramic service. Tell us more about why the committee has chosen to honor Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's efforts to forge peace with Eritrea.
This is a very big achievement for Abiy when he make a peace deal between Ethiopia and Eritrea. As you know, Ethiopia and Eritrea fought a bloody war between 1998 to 2000. Since then, for the next 20 years, the two countries remain no peace, no war situation. So when Abiy ended that by making a peace deal in July last year, that was a very huge step, especially for families who are separated because of these conflicts. And thousands of people are died because of this war. And after that, after the peace deal, the two countries' border were opened and phone line connection was restored, and the air transportation also resumed. In fact, after a while, the border between the two countries are closed for further deliberation. But it was a very huge step forward when it comes to the peace deal between Ethiopia and Eritrea. But Abiy's achievement is not only that, but on the neighboring countries, his personal involvement on the bringing the contested parties of the Sudan, different parties, different forces to make a peace deal and to have a transitional government. That's also a huge step. So his involvement in the neighboring countries is huge, and also his achievement in the internally is also one thing. But I can say that the Peace Prize is given to him because of his involvement in the Horn of Africa.
Okay, involvement in the Horn of Africa, but specifically focused on what's going on between Ethiopia and Eritrea. As you mentioned, there's been a long war between those two countries. This award is being offered, that was explicitly stated, as a sign of encouragement for work still to be done. How much work is there still to be done in achieving peace between Ethiopia and Eritrea?
There are so many things we don't know about, by the way, the peace deal between the two countries. Everyone told us that there was a peace deal, and what we have seen so far is a very generalized statement when it comes to when they told us about that peace deal. Repeatedly, when journalists and political analysts repeatedly asked the details of the peace deal between the two countries, but still the details remain unclear. So, there is even Ethiopia's plan to start to use the Eritrean ports and also to start a trade relationship between the two countries. And also, there is a disputed place between the two borders, which is the main reason why the two countries are they went to war. So how they deal, to solve that border conflict, those disputed places, which is given by the Border Commission of the two countries, we don't know such things. So I can say that so many things are still undone. We will see in the future if they solve all the problem between the two countries.
So how important is this as a signal, do you think, for the Horn of Africa, for that part of Africa in addressing the problems that vex that part of the world?
As you know, the Horn of Africa is a very volatile region. It is very known for repeated conflicts between countries. There was also a civil war, like for so many years. When you see South Sudan, Somalia, even in Eritrea, between Ethiopia and Eritrea, and that area is always have a very volatile region. So when Abiy comes to power, the first thing what he did is visiting all the neighboring countries. Even last night, when he opened a unity park in Addis Ababa, in his palace, he brought all the neighboring countries' presidents and prime ministers, heads of state, to come together and to solve the problem and to unify that Horn of Africa country. He always repeatedly said that instead of bringing a long-lasting solution for that region, we should come together. We should work together. So I can see that this peace prize might have a contribution for peace in that region.
Irago, thank you so much for your insights there. That was Irago Tesfalem from DW's Amharic service. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.